Welcome to episode 170 of Star Wars and Scotch. It's Kevin, it's Tim, but today we have a guest.
Yes.
We have Barry from the Tardu podcast. Barry, how are you this morning?
I'm wonderful, thank you. And thank you for having me. I can't wait to dig into Star Wars.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Barry had both Tim and I on his podcast. The Tim episode is out right now, so if you search for Tardu podcast, we'll talk about more of that later. But you can listen to Tim's episode, which I listened to the whole thing, and I found it rather interesting. I learned things about Tim I didn't know.
Really?
Not really.
Oh, okay. It's like we've known each other for a very long time.
But thanks for coming on, Barry. But before we go any further, we have to talk about what we're all drinking. Obviously, we put Scotch in our coffees. No, we didn't. But we're all drinking King's Coast coffee this morning. Shake up the way you wake up, King's Coast coffee. Tim, what are you drinking?
Bowbreaker. Sorry. Coffee was
I waited till he. No,
I did. Yeah, perfect.
And
I need to start making.
Choice.
I do want to start making some cold brew. I think that's on the horizon. It's starting to get really warm out, so hot coffee isn't all that great right now. So
I saw something yesterday of wife got a husband a cold brew machine.
Yeah, those are so
and
good.
He's like, I didn't realize it was cold brew concentrate, and now I'm doing push-ups at an alarming rate. Yeah. The funny thing is he kept drinking it, so that was the.
I saw one video on TikTok where some person like put out like hey, if this was you, drinking this thing, it was a person who was calling out someone who was drinking one of those like concentrate coffees and was just chugging it, and they're like, hey, just so you know, in a couple hours you will have to poop your pants.
Oh, yeah.
Just be careful.
Yeah, as someone who just went through a medical procedure that involves a lot of pants pooping, don't recommend. So cut the coffee. Just
I'm really glad they figured out why you kept pooping your pants. So,
yeah. Well, it was forced.
He's cured. Hallelujah. He doesn't poop his pants anymore.
Hey, the poop's been real. Well, we're not going to talk about that. But kingscoastcoffee.com. If you head over, how much we got? Like a month left on the spring surge, right? Before we hit
summertime. Yeah.
Jeez, that flew. So,
it did. It always does.
.com. Make sure you get your tickets to gcxevent.com. Creators are announcing that they'll be in attendance. We have some really cool things happening on the floor. There'll be some Fortnite. There might be some Destiny. There might be some other stuff. Who knows? But
there might be a Magic the
GCX
Gathering
event.
tournament.
I would bet my ass there'll be a Magic the Gathering tournament. So, gcxevent.com. Get your tickets now. Get your hotel rooms because the hotel is almost 3/4 sold out for the entire weekend. Just saying. Don't be the person who shows up the day before and is like, can I get a hotel room? Not happening this year. That's selling out at an alarming rate. So gcxevent.com/tickets. Barry.
Hello.
Tell us about Tardu podcast. Tell us about, how it came to be. And I know you and I, when I was on, we had a great conversation like about everything, but we did talk Star Wars on it. And then, even when Tim was on, he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize you had all of the Star Wars paraphernalia."
Oh, you're also one of us. Yes. Cool.
But yeah, take us through the journey on Tardu, and then I'd love to hear like the beginning of your journey with Star Wars as well. But first for Tardu, love to learn more.
So Tardu started as a podcast for content creators that were really in the Tarkov community, Tarkov space. And what predated that was a group of buddies and myself. We, started sitting, we played Tarkov. We loved it. We loved talking about it. It's like, you know what? Let's get together and just chat about this game. And that's where sort of the whole podcast thing started. We had some guests on, and, having the guests on was like, that was fun. I want to do that more. So that's what ended up getting me to spin off Tardu. And, 138 episodes later, I've had both of you guys on, I have Professor Broman, and it's expanded out more outside of Tarkov. I've had game devs, I've had charity orgs on, and it's just been a great experience with a lot of really great people.
Yeah, I listened to a few of the episodes. Hutch was one of my favorite interviews that you did. What a wild story that man has.
I know, right?
I knew he played baseball. I'm originally from Long Island, as you know. So being a Mets fan, I was like, wait, you played for the Mets? Because he's talking about being in a locker room with all these former Mets players. I'm like, this is crazy. So I had to DM him after that about GCX stuff. And I was like, by the way, I listened to your Tardu episode. I had no idea you played for the Mets. He was like, yeah, man. Hung out with Noah Syndergaard. But yeah, you do a great job of getting personal with people, I think, in a way that people don't get to see when they watch, a Tim or myself online streaming. And that was probably the refreshing part that I enjoyed, was really just seeing you dive into the weeds with some of these people, and nothing like abrasive. It's a very casual, good conversation about your history, how you got into gaming and all that stuff. But yeah, it's overall, I've listened to probably 10 or 11 episodes now, and I'm thoroughly enjoying. It's just good conversation. It's almost like you're sitting at a table listening to two people talk, like at a bar or something, and someone's just telling their story. Is that kind of the vibe that you were going for?
Totally. That's exactly what I was looking for. Something like laid back and chill. Let's just have a conversation. Just, like you were talking about, seeing them outside of that stream. What do they like to do? I like to go back through their Twitter or their old YouTube videos to see what they started with, or just find something that's, maybe people don't know, and just, get them to talk about it, so that they're not, because every day that, the streamers are streaming, they're just talking about the game and whatnot. And let's talk about something different.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing a great job. I'm excited to see who else you're going to interview in the future. But if people want to listen to Tardux, and we'll do this more than once in the episode, where can they find it?
Tardux. Just search for TRDUCKS on YouTube and Twitter and everything like that, and Spotify.
Easy peasy.
Awesome.
It is, yeah.
Easy peasy. But more importantly,
yes,
you're a huge Star Wars fan, and that's why you're here today.
Talk about Star Wars.
What's your origin there? Where does it start? Where does it begin? I talk about being at my aunt's house with the ugly brown carpet and the Return of the Jedi. Tim remembers watching it with his siblings and his parents back in the day. Like, what's your moment where you're like, this is cool?
Well, first, let me say, Tim starting Star Wars with Return of the Jedi is just
so wild, dude.
Weird.
It is.
That's
weird.
what I did too. We both.
Oh, you're Team Return of the Jedi. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my journey started. So I am over 50. Original 1977. Going to the drive-in theater with my folks. And seeing it there, and it's like, wow, nothing else I'd ever seen. I was like 5 or 6 compared to that. I was never a big Star Trek fan, the original series, and we had Battlestar Galactica and things like that, but nothing scratched that itch like Star Wars. From the Star Wars figures going through, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, just, getting those Sears Christmas catalogs and like looking, because, there's no internet, and we're looking and seeing the commercials and just that hype. And, Christmas morning, calling my buddies, hey, what did you get? Oh, I got the AT-AT Walker. What did I get? I got the Falcon. Let's grab all our stuff and get together and play. And that was just, that's the way it was back then. And then, progressing on the video games, we're talking, the Star Wars game in the arcade, flying the the vector graphics of the X-Wing flying through. You had a little bit of speech in those video games back then, and then the Atari 2600, Empire Strikes Back, going through SNES, the Super Star Wars series, and eventually on the computer playing X-Wing. And way back then, you had a sound, you had a ad-lib sound card, and then you had a Sound Blaster sound card. You needed both of them just to get the speech. And I only had the ad-lib one, which just gave me the special effects or the sound effects and some music. But yeah, just seeing where it's the transition and journey of where Star Wars started, and it's been wild. And then having kids, and then introducing them to the Star Wars, and then playing, like we were just talking about a little bit ago, with Star Wars Lego coming out with a new game. That's how I started playing. That's how I introduced video games to my kids, playing Star Wars Legos. Star Wars Legos, and it was fantastic journey.
Yeah, I mean, we're in that boat too. Our kids are a little younger than yours, but we both of us,
Dude,
Tim reads the
something
books.
about
Tim watched
something about asking your kid who's that, and just boom, bam, knows the answer, is just the coolest feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
My son, he's almost 10. He's in the I need to know more about the lore phase. So he's like, when you say the rule of 2, that means only 2 exist. I'm like, well, kind of. He's like, then what about the Inquisitors? And I'm like, well,
that's fun.
We're uncarking a whole thing here, little guy. So, he's in that era where he wants to know more about the lore. And we just started Rebels for not my first time, his first time. He's hooked. He's hooked. I think he has a crush on. I think he has a crush on Sabine.
It's fair.
Yeah. Also, Tim,
Yep.
Danielle binged Ahsoka on Sunday
Oh, really? Good for her.
because she had gotten 2 episodes in. We took a long break, and she's like, "I need to finish this show," and she was like, "Next." Next, next. So she loved Ahsoka. She said Andor was still her favorite, but Ahsoka was
so
probably her
good.
second favorite. But yeah, so like when it comes to introducing it to the next generation, as a dad, I feel like that's actually the most exciting part of being a fan.
Yeah.
Is I remember with my oldest daughter watching the Vader reveal, and somehow, some way, it was not spoiled for her throughout her entire life. I don't know how I pulled that off, but so we really enjoyed that. And then with my son, his whole thing is the clones. He is obsessed with the Clone Wars, the clones. We were talking about it last week. Like 4, 5, and 6 are just part of the story to him. It's not like sacred like it is to the three of us. It's just another piece of the puzzle. The Clone Wars is like his favorite thing. And now with Rebels, I have a feeling he'll start to gravitate towards that. But, you know, you said you were in the movie theaters for 77.
Yeah.
You know, you watched the prequels with your children as well, and I'm assuming the sequels too. What's been the best for you as, you know, this is my favorite, this is number one, versus your kids and watching it with them? Like, what's the difference there? Like my favorite versus this is my favorite, was sharing it with my children.
Yeah, so you know, from my son is like, you know, sounds like your son. Clone Wars. He loves everything about the Clone Wars. He can go into each different type of Clone War soldier or clone soldier there is. For me, it's you know, episode 4, but Rogue One comes really close because I just feel that was such a well done movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Rogue One in the theater with Tim. Actually, we saw it together.
Yeah.
That was. I didn't expect the movie to be that good, especially after what we had previously. So that was a welcome surprise. And with everything we've talked about, and obviously we all know each other through gaming, what's the Star Wars game for you? You've mentioned a bunch. I noticed all of your, like, Super Star Wars is one of the hardest games I've ever played. But what's your Star Wars video game?
So a while back, when Sony's VR came out, Sony PlayStation VR, they had a sort of a little mini Star Wars segment where you can actually, you know, in VR fly. And it was the first Star Wars game in VR. That comes pretty close. You know, that was.
Yeah, the one that was for Battlefront.
Yes.
Yes, I did a BCD at Gamescom for that. And that when the AT-AT walks over you is by far the coolest moment because it feels like you're in full scale.
Yeah.
It's so neat.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of probably the second Star Wars Battlefront game was I really enjoyed that. And then there was the other one, Rebellion. I don't know if you guys remember that one. Mm-hmm. That one was sort of like I don't want to say RPG, but it had like, I guess more of a strategy game of you're managing fleets of, trying to move your fleets around to grab star systems and whatnot.
Did you when it comes to
this is a board game?
No, it was a video game.
You're thinking of Empire at War.
There's Star Wars Rebellion, which is a board game. I'm looking for the PC game. Oh, Rebellion on Steam. I see it.
It's not Empire at War?
No, Empire at War was an RTS.
This came out in 1998. It is time.
I remember this game.
It is a time of great upheaval. The first Death Star has been destroyed, making a major victory for the rebellion. But the Empire remains strong. As commander, you must choose to take control of either the Rebel Alliance or the Galactic Empire. Your goal? Complete domination of the galaxy.
Memory unlocked. I had this the demo disc with like the 20 PC games, and this was one of the you could play the first hour level or something of it, and I probably played it 10,000 times.
Yes, that one got.
Oh my god!
For that time, that was as deep as we sort of got.
Yeah, this is cool. It's like a Star Wars RTS kind of.
Yeah.
By the way, if you need every Star Wars game on Steam, it's on sale right now, 23% off for $225.35.
The entire collection? Is that including like Fallen Order and Survival? Or Survivor?
I'm looking. It says 26 titles. No.
Oh, okay. That's wild.
Yeah, Star Wars has had a hook from a video game standpoint. That's why I bought an Xbox, the original Xbox, because of Obi-Wan was on that. And, this is why I bought a Super Nintendo, was because of Super Star Wars.
Star Wars was so good.
Yeah, it was.
So difficult, but so good.
Yes.
Yeah, my favorite is always KOTOR. I will always go back to that because that was when I was introduced to the greater Star Wars universe. That there was legends out there. It wasn't just the Skywalkers and all of that. So KOTOR was like kicking a door open for me. I was like, wait, there's more. And yeah, I don't think I've looked back since then. So that game, it holds a very special place in my heart. Yeah.
Dude,
but
this Star Wars Obi-Wan case, I was like, I forgot about this game. The Obi-Wan case is so just Microsoft Xbox. Everything's in green, and it looks like a high school Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop project that was done. It's this man. The early 2000s were wild.
They were, yep.
And
I remember enjoying that game though. I think
it was good. From what I remember, it was good.
Yep. And then you had the Sony exclusives. I think.
Dude, the PlayStation 2 PlayStation 3 had Episode 3.
Yes.
And that was awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And we had
Do you remember
Pod
the
Racer
Clone Wars game?
Yes.
Oh yeah, on N64.
That game was awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'd enjoy it now, but
my favorite part is Tatooine and having to rotate 90 degrees to go through the slit in the cavern. Like that's the coolest part. That's part of the game.
All right. So now you're scratching more memories on my side. There was so I bought the Super Nintendo because of Star Wars. I bought an Xbox. I bought a CD-ROM drive for Rebel Assault. And we're talking this had like just a few cutscenes that were just amazing way back in the days of, CD-ROMs. And, man.
This is the one. This was the one where they used live action cutscenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I remember this. Holy crap.
Didn't they do that in Rebellion too?
I don't know.
Wasn't it live action cutscenes?
Oh,
or was it just pictures?
Wild. I forgot this time of gaming where we thought using live action would be okay.
Yep. Mad Dog McCree or something like that. And
he was an X-Wing pilot.
Game.
Yeah, and you had to make the actions to do the things. Oh my god.
Yeah, and then I jumped into Wing Commander because Mark Hamill was associated with that, It was just, it's Star Wars touches.
Well, he's still associated with it. He's just doing Star Citizen now. He's in the single player for Squadron 42.
Oh, okay.
No, that's pretty much gold, I think. It's coming up soon.
I'm looking at the graphics for Republic Commando since we started talking about that, and that's another favorite of mine. And it's amazing what your brain did when you were younger, thinking like this was the most pristine, gorgeous game. And now I'm looking, it's not ugly by any stretch of the imagination. It still looks like a good game, but I'm just like, it's so jagged edgy and squarey.
Yeah, because we had
like
Unreal Engine 5, which sometimes looks real.
I know, but your brain really plays tricks on you because this was like the smoothest, most gorgeous tactical combat space game. So here we are.
Yep.
When it comes to the movies, you said Episode 4 is your favorite.
Yeah.
Is it because of the nostalgia, or is it because plot wise it's your favorite?
I think just because of the nostalgia. I really enjoyed Return of the Jedi because it sort of had all aspects of a Star Wars movie. It had the big space battle. It had sort of a I don't want to say a land battle, but you had Jabba the Hutt's on the sail barge, and then you had some lightsaber battles, which don't compare to what we saw when Episode 1 and the newer ones came out with, because I look back on 4 and you saw that stiff sword fight of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and then you get what we have today, which all the sort of acrobatics and whatnot.
Do you know the reasoning why the fighting scene in Episode 4 is so different from all the other fighting scenes?
No.
So in episode 4, they went with a traditional fencing style combat because it was either Ewan McKellen was not Ewan. Who played
Pros?
Obi-Wan,
Alec Guinness,
Sir Alec Guinness, or whoever was the body double for Darth Vader. One of them was classically trained in fencing. So they were like, shit, we need someone we need to fight with swords. Who can do it? And they're like, well, I have fencing practice. So like they did it that way. And then they realized that fencing is just too stiff and it's just not like elegant. So that's why they went with more of like a samurai style, like more like traditional, like kendo, like Japanese style fighting. Because it looks pretty and it's just more like cinematic, but also like the retcon for episode 4 is that they were doing mind games the entire time. Like that's why it was so stiff, is because they were fighting with their mind. I think that's the official like why the fight scene is the way that it is, because they were busy fighting each other with their mind.
That's too funny.
Yeah, so that's why episode's 4 fighting style is so different, is because one of them, I can't remember which one, but one of them was fencing trained.
It's almost like
an Empire. Empire is still a great movie too. The whole Hoth scene, and even to this day, so I live up in the Northeast. When it's winter and we have snow and the garage door's closing, I'm constantly. It's just like that scene of Chewie yelling as the door closes. It's just I don't know why.
Sir, your tauntaun will freeze before you get past the first marker.
Then I'll see you in hell.
Oh man, yeah. That's part of the reason I miss snow. Is like you walk outside and fresh snow, you're like, oh, Hoth. But it's just that's how our nerd brains work. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back in 1 minute. We're gonna talk about Tales of the Empire and a few other things. And we are back. So Barry, you got to see.
Sorry, clap.
Clap again. It's fine. We got to see. You got to see Phantom Menace last week in the theater with the re-release. Tell us about it.
So I got, my son was 21, so he never got to see it in the theater. So it was a special thing for him to see it on the big screen. And my youngest, she's, that was probably her. She's not big into Star Wars, but she sat through it. And so we had at our movie theater here, they had what they call D-Box, which basically the seat, there's a few seats in the theater that are sort of linked to what's happening in the movie. So as a ship is moving this way, the seat tilts that way or vibrates based on, whether it's gunshots or rumble sequences. And that was pretty cool. And seeing episode 1 again, I hadn't seen it in a while. There's still those cringy moments, but do you think it deserves the backlash that it got?
For me, I've gone back and watched it a handful of times, and like Duel of Fates will always be like number 1 for me. So like that's why like episode 1 can like it still like stays up there because of Duel of Fates. Dialogue is just, it's rough for me. And so like, there's definitely a lot of points where I'm like, oh man, just like, ugh, what were they thinking? I don't think it deserves all of the backlash. I definitely like, I understand like why people don't like, Jar Jar, but man, Jar Jar should like, when I think of Jar Jar, I automatically think of Ahmed Best. And so like, I feel bad for him that he got so much crap for that role when a lot of it was just honestly just bad writing for him. Like I think Jar Jar could have been a better character. Yeah. But he just got turned into the class clown, which kind of like, which sucks. Like I don't think we needed that. Like in the original trilogy, we didn't have like this comedic like goofy character, and so like I don't know why George felt like it was necessary to throw that in there. And I know Star Wars is for kids, and I know you need to have like this fun like kid enjoyable character, but it's just like he feels very unnecessary for the most part, unless you believe in the Darth Jar Jar storyline.
Well, we already have
Kevin.
We have C-3PO, who's the goofy character, comic relief. If you
but he's not. But he's like.
So we got added on top of that. I guess because he's being built in one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's like.
He serves a purpose.
He's the comedy relief. Yeah, exactly. But he has a role. Like
I mean, he's in all 9 movies, so damn right he has a role.
It makes sense. Well, even in the original trilogy, like it made sense why he was there. Jar Jar is just always just kind of just like getting dragged along the entire time. He didn't ask for any of that.
Well, his tongue gets stuck to things, so he just literally gets dragged along.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point, Tim. The original 4, 5, and 6 didn't have that weird comedic guy, but all the other point is that you make a good point is Star Wars is for kids, and there's that aspect of it, and I think a lot of people forget about that.
Oh, they do.
All the time, especially grown men. It's wild.
Look at any post. Like, you could still enjoy Star Wars till the day you die. My uncle has the original 77, May the Force Be With You button still. Huge fan to this day. Not the biggest fan of the prequels or the sequels, but it's Star Wars at the end of the day, Yeah. And that's how I feel about Phantom Menace. Is I think it's the least powerful out of the movies if you remove Duel of the Fates. But I also look at all the movies that way. Like, if you take Rose and Finn out of 8, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I have no problem saying that, but Rose and Finn's story was completely forced and ruined. And I would say Canto Bight was kind of stupid too, but
Canto Bight's dumb.
Yeah.
So, if you remove those two factors, if people are like, well, that's half the movie. Well, that's why people don't like it. But, Star Wars is Star Wars at the end of the day. When I sit down to watch through the series, I still watch 1. I still watch 2. I still watch 8. I still watch 9. It is what it is. It's part of the world. It's part of the universe, and at the end of the day, if you're going to call yourself a Star Wars fan, it's okay not to like something, but to shit on other people for not liking it, like, get over yourself.
Right.
That's when I go, it's for kids. It's at Disney World, for God's sake. Phantom Menace is definitely low on my list aside from Duel of the Fates. But I'll still watch it.
Now, of other movies that got backlash, what's your take on Solo? Did it deserve?
Oh.
I like Solo.
I like
I did
Solo
too.
a lot.
Yeah.
I like Solo.
I really enjoyed it. I love the tie-in to the Clone Wars. I love that you see Maul. We get to see a lot of like alien species that we only ever saw in animated in live action. So like I really enjoyed it. I think they nailed it. I thought all of the casting was fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have honestly loved to see another Solo. I would love to see more adventures of Lando and Han.
Yeah.
Like that would have been cool for me. Or even like learn more about Kira. Like we're gonna learn more about Kira in Outlaws, but like I still would have liked to have seen more of like the Syndicate. I would have liked to have seen more of like Crimson Dawn. I would have liked to see more of just like the all the other like factions that are there. And I know we'll get to see them in the video game, but still like within like a cinematic universe, that would have been cool. So I don't think it got enough room to really breathe. I think it was just like immediately it got crapped on because they didn't want to do the facial aging or de-aging, which I'm glad they didn't. I went back and watched Indiana Jones, and it's awkward. It just
is.
like they used his voice, but they used his baby face. And so you've got old Harrison Ford talking while you've got young Harrison Ford's face. And so like I'm expecting to hear the voice of Han Solo or Indiana Jones. And instead, I'm getting raspy old
exactly.
Harrison Ford. So it's just I like that they did that. I understand why they didn't continue. Like they had this continuity thing. Like if you pay attention to what Star Wars has done, what Disney has done, and what ILM is doing, they want to have continuity. They want it to be where you start at episode 1 and you go all the way through. And it doesn't really feel like a lot of things have changed. It's just one nice flow. When you get to Solo, because it's not Harrison Ford, because it's not who plays Lando, Billy D. It's not Billy D. And so it's just like it throws people off. I guess like that's the only thing that I could really think of is why they didn't continue to explore the Solo movie storyline and go into a second one is because of how they went about filming that movie.
We don't know what the Lando show is going to bring, though.
Is that still confirmed? Like, I know at one point he was saying that he was going to do it, and then he was going to fund it himself at one point, or he was going to like start throwing money at it.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a producer, and his brother's supposed to write it or something like that. But yeah, it hasn't been canceled. I would love if they're going to continue that story. Like, we should see the deal he makes with Jabba that goes bad.
Yes.
As a precursor.
I've always wanted to know what happens before episode 5 and after episode 4, where he is so spooked and they don't talk about it. There's a bounty on his head, but he's supposed to have already paid off his debt to Jabba.
Yeah.
After 4, in theory, he has the money. He got the money from Leia and from the rebellion. So he should have, even though he was the hero, he should have gone and paid it off. And then go and then join. That's the whole thing.
Gambled it away.
That's the whole thing. Did he? I don't know. In theory, the smart guy would be like, I've got friends. I have family now. Like these guys have accepted me. Let me go pay off my debt. I'm going to join the rebellion. I'm going to fight for the good guy. And then you get to episode 5 and he's like, I've got a bounty on my head. I've got to go.
That could be the first red flag from Leia being like, can I fix this? Or
she loves broken men.
And we know it doesn't work out in the end.
Look at her brother. She kissed her brother because he was missing his hand. She loves broken men. She wants to fix everybody.
Yeah, no, Solo is in my, like, L3 is such a great character in Solo.
So good.
I think underrated. I know a lot of people didn't like Billy D. Williams' Lando. I did too. Childish Gambino's Lando. I loved it. Loved it. The fact that he was like, I'm Han Solo, and he kept going, hey! Han
Han,
to
old buddy.
perpetuate the joke from the later ones. I was like, genius. Just a subtle little thing that only the super fans are going to pick up on as to when he calls him Han, it pisses him off so much. But it shows their friendship and like that's who they are as individuals. But yeah, I would assume Han and Chewie would end up in the Lando show somehow because I feel like there needs to be more reasons for Han to doubt Lando in episode 5.
Yeah.
When Lando's like it can't just be that one.
It can't be just the one gambling
game.
thing.
Right.
Like
Yeah, there has
there's
to be
more
more.
to it than that.
And now I heard in Return of the Jedi, they reshot the ending because when Han says I have a bad feeling I'm not going to see that ship again. I heard or read somewhere that originally it blew up. Now, did you guys ever hear anything like that?
No.
Yeah, I have heard that the Falcon's last ride was supposed to be in episode 6, but they retconned it, or not retconned it, but they didn't put it in.
Yeah.
Also, I saw something about why Lando's dressed up as Han Solo, and I watched the video. I was like, oh, that's interesting, and then it totally just went out the other ear. Do you guys know why he's dressed up as Han Solo?
No, I didn't notice that, but
Oh, dude, yeah, he's got the black vest
Yeah.
on. He's got the tan shirt. Like,
Right.
he's dressed up as Han. And
picked
Han is not in his normal attire. He's in that like Forest Moon of Endor garb.
right.
I
Damn.
noticed that.
Now I gotta go look real quick.
And the other thing
it
that
comes-
always bothered me, was like, why were there so many people on the Falcon? They were just providing like you see all this.
Well, in theory, the Falcon is supposed to have a full crew. It's never had a full crew, but it's a pretty big ship.
It is, yes.
If you go to Disney World, you can find out how big it is because you can walk through it to get to the ride, which is one of the most surreal nerd moments. I'm in this
You don't
algorithm
actually
right now.
You don't really walk through that one. Sorry.
Let me live.
Sorry.
I'm in this algorithm right now on TikTok. I don't know how I got started, but it's grown men seeing the Falcon at Disney for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
We all had the same exact face, just the shock and awe. And all of the significant others are always like, I can see the childhood coming back into his eyes. Cause we're all just like, I saw it at night for the first time. I could not believe it. I was like, it's the damn ship that I grew up watching on television is sitting in front of me. And I couldn't believe it. And everyone has the same look. Some men start crying. Some are like, it is the happiest part of my TikTok algorithm right now. So I'm really enjoying this whole thing. Like, I don't know. It's Galaxy's Edge makes me feel like a kid. I love going there.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So I went to Screen Rant and I found
Here
it.
we go.
Okay. So in a Q&A session with Billy D. Williams at the 2011 New Orleans Comic-Con, the host described why Lando wears Han's clothes, and Billy D. Williams agreed to several of the explanations. Host: the real answer is costume designer John Motlib decided to put him in the same clothes as Harrison. Didn't mean anything. They were actually sized differently. The fan answer, or the universe answer, is it's actually a part of the Corellian core group. If you look at Han Solo's pants, he got those red marks on them and stuff. It's from the old army, basically, so it's the same uniform. And Billy D. Williams' response is, yeah, we were all in the army. I was a general or something. That was his answer.
Oh man.
So the fandom or the universe answer is that like Lando didn't have enough time to go get his own clothes, so he grabbed some of Han's clothes that were in the Millennium Falcon and threw them on.
I mean, that makes sense.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
Now, did you guys hear anything about this group they're trying to redo the theatrical releases of the original series? Like they're redoing it digitally. They're like every aspect of it, like how the aspect or the filming style and everything. And I guess George is not a fan of it.
First of all, George sold his rights to say anything. Of course, they'll respect his decision. He's been on set for Mandalorian stuff. My big thing there is Disney should have the uncut originals, the remastered originals, and then the digital releases all on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I should be able to go back and watch any of the three at any time because you own the rights to it. There's no reason to not put it up there. You know how many people would subscribe to Disney Plus in the first 2 months just to watch the old uncut originals? I mean, that alone is worth it for them. But for some reason, like you said, George has always been against it. This is where I get weird with George Lucas too. Yes, he's the creator of it. I love the idea. You know, I love hearing him talk about how the rebellion was modeled after the Viet Cong, all this stuff. I think it's so cool. But I don't think he's this super genius that everyone makes him out to be. And I think episodes 1 and 2 are the proof in the pudding of that. Because when he was untethered and he could do whatever he wanted, he made those movies. As opposed to when he had different writers and he had people saying no to him, and then in episode 3, he had people saying no to him again. And episode 3 is a very good movie. So I don't know. I don't think he's this like enlightened genius that the fandom makes him out to be. You know, when they're like, Disney ruined this and the Disney canon is, you know, it's like George had 3 layers of legends running at the same exact time. And there was no cohesive, is this part of the story? Well, this is Legends A, and it was never there. So again, I think it's just grown men complaining on the internet because they have nothing better to do with their lives. But at the end of the day, I don't think George is this crazy, like, oh my God, we need to worship the ground he walks on. So I'm all for it. I think Disney should be doing it anyway. I think, again, you should be able to watch any of the 3 versions anytime you want, especially with kids.
Yes.
Should be like, watch the digital one with all the new special effects and everything for them, and then be like, you want to see how Dad saw it? With like the models and everything. They'll be, you know, I cannot wait till I can show my son Blade Runner, the original, because I want to be like, that's not digital, that's not CGI.
Yeah.
Those are all practical models. That is a studio. And that, like, to me, Blade Runner is the pinnacle of that era of filmmaking. So there is something special and unique about Star Wars because they did the same exact thing. So yeah, I'm all for the originals being able to be readily viewed anywhere at any time.
Yeah, I guess the National Archive has asked for them and George won't give them up.
The hell?
Yeah.
I'm surprised he has them and they're not at Lucas, but that was probably one of the conditions of his sale.
Yeah, after
he's
4,
that
5,
guy.
and 6, you know, as a Star Wars fan, as a kid, there was that drought was awful. We were jonesing for anything.
Sure.
We had, you know, there was a really bad cartoon called Droids and the Ewoks.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
they're on Disney Plus now.
And like, you know, we just, you know, if there was, you know, Star Wars, you know, Mark Hamill was going to be on the Muppet Show. All right, got to watch that because, you know, maybe some Star Wars, but that's
The illustrious Christmas special became because you all had a drought, and that's how we got that.
Yep. And then finally,
Hey,
Timothy Zahn came out with the Heir to the Empire, which just opened up things again, which was so good.
See, that's where you really need to understand, because Tim didn't really like Heir to the Empire, but he just read it like last year. But Tim, you have to understand.
The only reason why I don't like
on.
Heir to the Empire is because I have a new Thrawn. But now, because there's so many different variants of Thrawn, I find myself very frustrating. We could talk about that with Tales of the Empire. But anyways,
which we'll get into one second. Before we go to Tales of the Empire, what I'd like to say, Tim, is Darth Jar Jar is coming.
Kevin, the amount of people that came into my chat and were like,
that's why I didn't go into it.
Darth Jar Jar's coming, Tim. What do you think?
And to them, I just want you all to know, I'm going to continue reiterating it. Anything that happens in Star Wars Lego is not canon because they're Legos. They can blow themselves up and reanimate themselves. There's no rules in Lego Star Wars.
This is essentially What If.
This is What If. This is exactly What If. But crazy enough, people are now being like, it's there. It's true. Like, watch the whole trailer. There's literally like rebellion AT-ATs.
And even the Halloween episode where they got all mixed up in the timeline and everything that was Lego, like, that's not canon, folks. Sorry. I hate to burst your bubble. Now, again, for me, I don't really care about canon.
Dude.
Canon's like just one of the timelines. Everything else is just fun. That's why we enjoyed Vision so much. But unfortunately, for all of Tim's chat, Darth Jar Jar is not canon. I hate to break that to you.
The amount of people that tagged me on Twitter and on TikTok and then came into chat, it was wild.
Yeah, it
loved
looks
it.
fun. I'm definitely gonna watch it with my son.
I'm so excited.
He was actually, even my daughter came over and she's like, "Ooh, it's the Lego Star Wars." So I'm stoked to watch it. I think it's gonna be fun. Yes. Did you catch the trailer, Barry?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
What'd you think?
I didn't think it was too bad. You know, it's, you know, Lego does such a good job with Star Wars, so I'll definitely look forward to it.
Lego has this autonomy where they can take IPs and do Legoify them, change the story, and everyone's like, "Who cares? It's Lego. It's cute. It's fun." I love Lego. So I'm hoping that we get some new sets from the Rebuild the Galaxy that are kind of like you said, the Rebellion AT-ATs, whoever is in the room and wants to call them whatever they want at any given time.
AT-ATs.
See, here we go. We're gonna have
They're
an argument.
AT-ATs. You don't call them ATST. Do you call it ATST and ATST? No, you don't. You call it an ATST. You can't call it an AT-AT because if you call it an AT-AT, you have to call them ATST.
See, and when that came out, people were calling them chicken walkers too.
Oh yeah, that was a
Because
good one.
they didn't, because we didn't know back then. That was,
So funny.
Call them that.
speaking of Legos, that was just another aspect with kids you're able to dive into. And as an adult, hey, buying Star Wars Lego kits for the kids, Christmas morning. Why is there so many more extra Christmas gifts on there? It's Christmas. Santa came.
Babe, like Star Wars,
Yeah.
Legos. The kids need them.
That's the whole reason we
Yeah.
got the Death Star. That was because hey, my son needs to experience this.
Kiddo needs
And then you're sitting at the table building them, and the kids are off doing
Right.
something else, and then your wife's staring at you like, "You
Can
got
I
it for the
come
kids,
help?
huh?
No, you can't touch this.
You'll mess it up."
But it's mine.
When
That's
it's
not how
done,
you
it's
put the
yours.
sticker on. It doesn't go that way.
The decals are wrong.
Oh man. Well, let's jump into Tales of the Empire. I continue to say these Tales series now are really good.
And whatever
too.
whatever engine they're using to make this, like, this looks better than any other animated series that we've gotten so far. There were multiple shots where I was like, this looks like UE5. It was just, but they kept the animated style the whole time too, which was just breathtaking. The combat,
Yes.
fantastic. The lightsaber fights, oh, chef kiss, dude. Just so good.
Paris without her lightsaber was a bad ass, dude.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Just monkeying around like, yeah, hit me. Come on, hit me.
And even the flamethrowers too. There's just the way. The animation was so good.
It really was. With the Morgan stuff, one of the biggest things that I geeked out about was these mountain people that live on Dathomir.
Dude, we have good and bad magic.
When she cast whatever that bubble paladin spell, I don't know what you want to call it was, I was like, oh my God, there's light side sisters.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, it's
my God.
but that makes sense since
does.
everything is yin and yang in this, and we are now getting more into the magical side of Star Wars because we have the Force, which is one thing, and then you have magic in Star Wars, which is something completely different. And now it makes so much more sense why Morgan never really looked like a Night Sister, because that in of itself was a spell which was broken, and that's why we were like, what the? How did she? And then that makes sense when she's in the other unit or in the other galaxy, and she turns back into a Night Sister. I thought that was like the first time, and it was just like she was being possessed. Like, no, that was her coming back to her true form.
Yep.
It was so good.
Yeah, no, that was a huge add-on to it. Getting to see Grievous acting like he did in the original Tartakovsky Clone Wars. I was like, that's my Grievous.
Yeah. But it was
you
you could tell that this was Dave. Like, he always wanted to do this.
Oh, yeah.
He always wanted to do the genocide of the Night Caesars, the siege on Dathomir, like whatever you want to refer to this as. Like, this was something that you could tell he's been holding on to for a long time because it was so well done. Like, you could tell there was a lot of love and care that went into that storyline.
Someone on TikTok wove it together with the Clone Wars version, so to make it like one long video.
Wow. I'm sure it's really good.
It was very good. I flicked away before I could send it to you, and I was like, no, I lost it forever. I can't find it again.
Now,
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Now, when Morgan was being tested, was that a Nogri that was attacking her?
I think so.
That,
yes.
Yeah, that was that's
Rook.
That's Rook.
Ah, okay.
He's like Thrawn's
that's
assassin.
Thrawn's assassin, who in the original Heir to the Empire,
They were the bodyguards for.
he was a bodyguard. He was a bodyguard for Thrawn. He acts a little differently in Rebels, but he's essentially the same guy.
Yeah, because
He
that
can
brought
cloak
back.
and stuff.
Yeah, because that brought back memories.
He's in Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
That's what I said. Yeah, he's in Heir to the Empire, and he's also in Rebels, but he's different.
yeah, because I completely forgot about them. I was like, oh yeah, those were the bodyguards. They were the ones that helped. They were after Lady Vader. That's what they were calling her?
Yep. We knew that Thrawn was going to be involved basically because we know Morgan's history. We weren't sure how.
Yep.
We saw the classic Empire like, well, we want your planet's resources, not your
That was so good.
tech. And then Thrawn was like, no, I want your mind because you're brilliant. But I freaked out because Pelion, you remember him from Heir to the Empire too. He's also in the end of Mandalorian in the Shadow Council meeting.
He's also in the Thrawn books, Kevin.
And he's in the Thrawn books, yes. He is he's Thrawn's right-hand man. He does everything for Thrawn. And I'm assuming he will be in season 2 of Ahsoka. I don't see why he wouldn't now that Thrawn has come back to the universe.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but I do have to bitch about this Thrawn again, because this Thrawn versus the Thrawn that we get in the books, I'm still very torn.
Why?
Because he's so horny for the Empire in visual medium. In the show, he's very horny for the Empire.
Tim, what is every great, well, I shouldn't say great. What is every successful dictator and evil person in history? What do? They make people gravitate towards a symbol, an ideology, something that they can rally around.
But he's not that.
He needs to be that.
But that's the whole thing, though, is that when he's on his own, he's still not like, he's still doing everything for the glory of the Empire. I still don't see
doing it for himself.
I don't see the Thrawn. He's not, but that's not Thrawn. Thrawn doesn't do it for himself.
Thrawn does doing it for himself for the Chiss Empire.
Thrawn does everything for the Chiss ascendancy. So for him to be selfish and do things for Thrawn Mithrodo, like, that doesn't make any sense to me, because everything that he did leading up to the point where he is taken by the Empire to the Emperor, everything that he was doing was for the Myth House. So I'm still confused as to what is Dave Filoni doing and what is Timothy Zahn doing, and are they talking to each other? Is something just not being like shown? Like, is he holding
Zahn
on to a card?
Zahn worked on Ahsoka with him.
But Thrawn is so different, and I'm so confused. I still have not found the hook for Thrawn as to, like, where does it hook us into the books?
Thrawn is trying to rise as high as he can in the Empire in the first part. Then he gets exiled. And then now I think he's trying to take over what the remnants are to serve the Chiss Ascendancy, because whatever is coming, whether it's the Grisk, the Yuzong Vong, whatever it ends up becoming,
It's got to be the Grisk.
Thrawn knows that they need to be stronger to defend themselves. And he knows that there's this readily available universe that can assist the Chiss Ascendancy in its defense of whatever is out there and coming. I would even say the Grisk would be great because it's in the books and whatnot. But Dave now, all of a sudden, chief creative, he might be like, well, I got this Yuzong Vong card in my pocket. I'm just going to pull it out and slap it down on the table now. So who knows? But that's why I think Thrawn is going for absolute power. I don't think he's doing it like keeps repeating the mantra almost to ad nauseum of trying to condition people when he says, long live the Empire, and then walks away from them. He's not, just like think of the way he talks to the Night Sisters in Ahsoka. He's like, good mothers. Like, he's always treating them with respect and honor, and look at all the things they do for him because of that.
Yeah,
he's a schmoozer,
it really could be. It really could be. He's just playing it up. I don't know.
He's a schmoozer. That's what he does best. And he gets inside your mind. And that's why he respected Morgan, because of her intelligence and her ability. Isn't the TIE fighters that they displayed on screen, aren't those the First Order ones?
They were the defenders.
No, those are the defenders. Those are the ones that Thrawn
uses.
in Rebels
That's where I've seen them before.
Develops.
Right. So yeah, and he says sometimes it's sometimes the cost justifies the means that what we're going to do with them. So it's just things like that where he becomes more intelligent than her. I did love basically the like leading us right up to Mandalorian, like literally.
Yes, that took us essentially days before we meet up with Ahsoka and Mando, because the forest is still smoldering when we get there. So if they incinerated the forest, I would say maybe that was like maybe 3 or 4 days. Like, everything's still really hot. It's kind of just like charring out. Like, It hasn't been too long, which is really, really neat. And that it makes sense why Morgan was in there.
Yep.
Now, are you guys fans of the snippets, the way they do it, like 15 or 20-minute long episodes, or would you rather just see the full 1 hour combined?
I think what's cool about the tales that they've been doing is that they're able to segment times. And so, like,
exactly.
if you notice, we've jumped around in all of those. So Morgan, you get early Morgan, you get mid Morgan, you get late game Morgan, and it's the same way with Barriss Offee. You get the right as the temple is being sieged. You get weeks after the Empire has taken over and they're building the Fortress Inquisitorium. And then you get her at the end, probably around like episode 5. I was trying to figure out like where in that time frame she was. I would assume it's right in the middle of the original trilogy. So I put it like right around episode 5 is where that last scene takes place.
They did the same thing in Tales of the Jedi with Dooku and Ahsoka.
Yes,
like
which was
Ahsoka's
great.
born, Ahsoka's training with Anakin, which leads to the Order 66, and then Ahsoka kills the Inquisitor at the end. Dooku,
which is her book.
Right.
It takes you a tour on her book. Dooku is
actually
is
they're
with
two separate Inquisitors. They confirmed for Ahsoka.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. There was 2 different ones. And then with Dooku, it was early with Qui-Gon.
Yep.
It was then a little bit later on where he was like feeling like he was kind of like getting ready to go on his own. And
With Mace.
And then it was at the end where he kills Yaddle.
Yeah, with the Emperor.
And then it takes you right up to episode 3.
And
I really, it's just little digestible pieces that help fill in the gaps, which I really like.
Yeah, that's why I don't mind the short pieces.
Yeah, I totally missed Tales of the Jedi and went back and watched. I was like, oh, that was good. Yeah, except for the blonde wig on Yaddle. I don't know. That's tough.
I mean, that whole scene with Yaddle, like, she's always been a background character. Obviously, she plays a role in the books and comics. But to understand why she's not at the council meeting towards the ends now, I think originally it was probably like, oh, she's off on a mission. Now it's like, no, she's dead. So, and I wonder too, do they know who killed her ever? Does the council know? Because that's kind of important.
I mean, they might not even find her body.
Yeah, if the Emperor has anything to say about it.
I mean, she could have. I don't know.
With Barriss, my favorite part of all of that was getting a look inside the Inquisitorium again.
I will straight up tell you, everything was great until the end.
What didn't you like about the end?
Sorry, everything was great until the ending of the second episode. I don't like that she just becomes a good guy. I don't like that we go all the way through and like I love that she's like she goes through the trials, she snaps the guy's neck. I'm like, oh, she's gonna be a badass. And then she's questioning everything the entire time. I was like, you literally just killed a guy that you knew in the Jedi Temple, and now you're still questioning yourself if you're good or bad. Like you did the ultimate act. Like
it
what
was
else?
The inverse of Dooku, Tim.
I know. I just don't like that. It feels like I would have liked her to just
your
been
dark side is showing.
It
right
really
now.
is. I really wish, because it's Tales of the Empire. Like I'm so tired of every time they're like, we're gonna give you a pure Imperial look into Star Wars, and then it's always a flip to the being a good guy at the end. Look at Battle
But it was the
2.
opposite. It was the opposite with Dooku. It was Tales of the Jedi, and he became a
I'm
Sith.
just saying, Barriss Offee, I think would have been better. Is just I would have liked to have just seen her being an Inquisitor. Like when what's her face goes through and just like annihilates that whole town. I was like, yeah, there it is. and then she just like cowards out at the end, and it's just like, okay. And then she becomes a monk. Like, it's just, I don't know. I was a little surprised. I wish it would have been like, I wish she would have died at like, I wish she would have gone and fought Ahsoka again. Honestly, that's how I would have liked to have seen that end, is that Ahsoka killed her at the end.
I feel like Ahsoka would have absolutely destroyed
I know,
her.
and that's what I'm saying. It would have been great. It would have been an awesome way to end that because of all the crap that those two went through in Clone Wars. And then everyone's like, well, where the hell did she end up? She becomes an Inquisitor. And it would have been cool if she would have been like, well, a badass Inquisitor. Like she was like right under the Grand Inquisitor. Like she was his pupil. And like he taught her everything that there was to know about being like a dark side follower. Like he was a temple guard. So he was one of the highest trained Jedi Knights in the Order. And like he's a cool guy. And if she would have been like his apprentice, oh man, I would have loved that. But I digress.
Well, we
didn't
got
enjoy it.
to in the Barriss ones, we got when she was knighted. I don't know what you call it when they confirm them or whatever. But we had the unnamed Inquisitor. We still don't know which
The guy with the
brother or
who looks
sister.
like a Reaper.
Yep. Yeah, the one that Ahsoka kills.
Yep.
We had Merrick was in the room from Ahsoka.
Yep.
And then we had Lynn, who's the fourth sister, in the room too. So I thought that was kind of cool that they just like Merrick's here. Hey, he's in the background hanging out.
I feel like they're going to continue dropping that character in.
Just randomly.
Yeah, because we have to know how he becomes reanimated, or they become reanimated. You know, there's something to it. Like we know that at some point it's dark magic that fills that husk. So
And why is he not a zombie like the stormtroopers, and he can still like
make thoughts
function
and
as
actually
if
be
he was as an inquisitor? So I don't know. What did you think, Barry, of Barris's story?
I liked it. I
did
kind
too.
of agree with Tim though about she just caves so easily. It's like you go
Right?
through all this training and how do they not pick up on her? She's not losing her dark side of things.
she's
I feel like
teetering.
Vader's the only one that's strong enough to even, or the Emperor. I don't think the Grand Inquisitor or the Inquisitors are strong enough to like pick up on that. Plus, it seemed like it was a moment, not like, or I shouldn't say a moment, but it was like
She was questioning a
slowly
lot the whole
building.
way through. I think like at the beginning when she like kills off everybody in the town, like I think at that moment she was already wibble wobbling. She's like, I don't think this is right. This seems kind of messed up, which is so
Well,
weird because in the first episode she's like, yeah, dude, I don't want to die. Snap. So
But it's almost like, you go from the Jedi and you do have that core values instilled in you. You think they're not doing it the right way, just like Ahsoka did, but they just kind of went two different ways to end up in the same place almost. And I think Barris felt so bad about all the things that she did, which is why she became nonviolent. And I feel like it was a really good way to show, and when she's not the first Inquisitor to second guess themselves. If you read Rise of the Red Blade, she also second guessed in a different way. She was pissed because she wasn't allowed to love. They weren't allowed to take, a lover. So, I mean, different strokes for different folks. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with 13th Sisters, the one from Rise of the Red Blade. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with a bunch of people. Most of them were ex-Jedi. Even the Grand Inquisitor is a former Jedi. He's a temple guard. And they're going to have those core values instilled in them. The whole thing that Vader's trying to do is break them. But even Vader turns in the end. So how can we really justify not turning, Tim? Come on.
And I like what you pointed out, Kevin, with the sort of like, you see Doko was good and then he transitioned to bad. Whereas with Tales of the Empire, we saw Barris go from, bad to good. I wonder if that was done on purpose.
I'm hoping that if this Coder remaster comes out, that the next one is Tales of the Sith and there's Old Republic stories in there for
it was
us
so
to enjoy.
good. Yeah, I like that.
That's my hope, is that releases and then we get 3 Revan stories and maybe 3 Malak stories or something like that. Something new and different and weird. Revan would be perfect because if you want one story where the person stays on the side and the other one where they change, Revan is it. Like he is the master of light and dark. So I don't know. I think it'd be fun to introduce Revan to the screen in that way, but who knows? Who knows where they're going to go next? Well, Barry, it really was a pleasure having you on and getting to talk Star Wars with you. It's the best part of our Wednesday is hanging out and talking Star Wars.
Thank
you. Good way to get through the week. But again, tell folks where they can find Tardux, you, all of that, in case they want to come and check out some of the episodes.
Yeah, on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Tardux, Tarducks. And, next week, Kevin's episode will drop.
Nice.
Woohoo! What timing? And you can check out Timmy's Darkness 429 everywhere on the internet.
Very true.
Tim, you're playing Arena Breakout.
I'm doing Arena Breakout
tomorrow?
today. Yeah.
Today and tomorrow. So if you
tomorrow
want-
and tomorrow's Helldivers as well. So
I mean,
we'll figure it out.
Helldivers.
We got
Helldivers.
lots. We'll figure it out. But yeah,
Friday's Fortnite. Like, we got a lot going on this week.
got a lot going on this week. Kevin, where can they find you?
K-Magic 101, Kevin X Vision on Twitter, and we are Star Wars and Scotch. We're Star Wars, Scotch, or Star Wars and Scotch everywhere on the internet. It really helps when you guys comment, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So please, 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 thank you so much for the high ratings on Spotify and all the comments on YouTube. We do read them. We don't respond to all of them because some of you are jerks. Most of you are really nice, but that's why we don't respond to every single comment. But thank you so much. We will see you next week. We will have another guest on. We're not going to say who that is, but stay tuned to socials. Tim?
May the force be with you.
Always.